Hi everybody, this is Rick from Studio Spades, and today I want to talk about the new improved Gobo Tool. We're in version 1.3 right now. So let's talk about what makes this new version of Gobo Tool better than the previous versions. I have an empty scene here. Only thing I have in it is a plane of 50 by 50 meters so that we can project the light onto this surface right here. So that's basically it. And let's drag Gobo Tool 1.3 from the asset browser, drop it into the scene, and make sure we press Shift S selection to cursor so that everything is centered. And then we grab the light, which points towards a light target, which is in the center of the scene right now. And let's zero the X and Y and put the light at about 50 meters. So what you might have noticed is that the color here changes depending on the distance, which is nothing new, but that might have caught your eye. We'll talk about that later. So first of all, I've cleaned up the node flow a bit, so it looks a bit cleaner. And yeah, also some of the global settings here you can tweak by clicking once and pressing Tab, so you enter that node. So you can change some global settings, but basically, you can forget about this section because Gobo Tool is for about 99% controlled from this menu right here in the Object Data Properties under this light icon when you select Gobo Tool. So that's basically where you control Gobo Tool from. Now, and if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps with the algorithm, helps the channel out. And now back to the video. For people that might not know, Gobo Tool is a procedural lighting tool which creates procedural lighting effects based on sliders. You slide up and down, and then that way you can combine different types of light and different types of masks, which can influence the light you're shining in your scene, and you can create your own gobos that way. So by default, when you drag in Gobo Tool 1.3, the caustics mask has been enabled. So if I disable it, we basically have a normal light source with it, which is pretty bright. But since Gobo Tool also works by subtracting light with these masks, so we subtract from it, it can get dark pretty fast, the light, so that's why the intensity is pretty high. Just make sure that you can always slide up or down the exposure here, so you can influence the amount of light pretty quickly and easily. Alright, so like I said, by default we have a caustics mask enabled here, and we press play. You can see them move, and maybe we can slide down the main light source, which basically also lowers the exposure or the brightness, because the main light source was set to 1 and we set it to 0. There's nothing. We slide it to 1. It basically uses all the light power that we have here, and then you can subtract from that light with the light masks. So yeah, let's disable the caustics for now and focus on the light layers and slide up main as well, or slide down the main light as well. So we have a dark scene here, and then we can maybe go by these layers, the light layers, one by one. So we can start off with the Voronoi light. So in most cases for the light layers, I've combined some of the noises you can find in Blender, in Shader Editor, like the Voronoi noise, the normal noise, Gabor noise, wave noise, rings, magic noise, that kind of stuff. And yeah, that way you can combine your own noise layers to create new moving lights, because they're all animated as well. Maybe slide down Voronoi a bit so you can see them move. And right now the radius is set to 0, which means the light is as sharp as it can be. But when you slide up the radius, you can of course blur it a bit, create some interesting light motion and patterns that way. And maybe let's put another object in there, like a monkey, a Suzanne, so we can get some interaction with a mesh in this scene. Let's subdivide it to make it look nice, shade smooth as well. We get some more lighting action going on in here and more shadow play as well. So let's go back to the object data. So what's new in version 1.3? So we have this UV mod section, which can warp the UVs of the light layer in this case, but they are also present in the masks section. And yeah, like I said, they basically allow you to warp the UVs. Now, maybe I can show it in this noise. Let's turn off the radius so the noise is sharp again. So when we turn off the UV multiplier, it's basically a straight Voronoi noise. But when you slide it up, you can see it warp the UVs, and you get, yeah, you can get some crazy and wacky combinations that way. Let's turn down the phase multiplier so it's a bit slower. So that way you can create some extra dynamics in the light and yeah, create more unique or wacky lighting combinations. And slide up the radius for now. Maybe that looks pretty wild, a bit more. So yeah, that's new. You can influence the way the textures are being projected with the UV mod section. Let's turn that off for now. And yeah, we basically have basic noise settings here because the warping is done by a noise, so we can adjust the scale, the detail, the roughness, offset, distortion, that kind of stuff. So you're warping the Voronoi noise in this case with a hybrid multifractal noise. So noise texture, this one, hybrid multifractal. So this is basically what's connected here. You can see scale, detail, roughness, linearity, offset, gain, distortion, scale, detail, roughness, linearity, etc., etc. So that's basically the type of noise that's modifying the Voronoi. And you can find this section under, well, basically all other noises as well. So when we check Gabor, maybe slide down Voronoi and turn up Gabor, which is a different type of noise, of course, which looks kind of reminds me of a zebra pattern. Now let's unfold Gabor and maybe turn up the multiplier here, the noise multiplier, and you can see it add this additional movement and motion in there. We can tweak the scale as well. Maybe turn down the phase multiplier, which is the speed of which it does this. And you can get some nice, interesting patterns going on in there. Maybe blur it a bit. So yeah, you can get some interesting lighting combinations that way. So yeah, that UV mod is new, and yeah, it just creates extra dynamics in your noise movement here. And let's go back to the Voronoi for now. Turn off the radius again so it's sharp. Maybe turn it down a bit, not fully, so that's not so bright. So Voronoi, let's go back, also has a settings section, just like all the other noises. Basically, you can change the scale, make it a bit bigger, the detail, which is these micro details here. So this is just normal Swiss cheese mode, I guess. And so with the detail slider, you can add some extra micro details in there. Roughness is kind of a mix factor for that. You can smooth it out a bit. So you can get really creative. But these are basically the normal Voronoi noise settings that you can find here, but they've been made easily accessible with Gobo Tool, so you can easily mix and match your own types of noises and create some unique lighting setups that way. And the phase multiplier is basically the W factor, so time. So when you press play, it'll move. The higher the number, the faster it'll move. So 0.01 will make it real slow, as you can see. And you can combine that again with the warp multiplier, add some extra dynamics in there, create some really unique and weird movement. And then when you blur it a bit, it starts to look a bit more natural. And yeah, you can create some nice dynamic lighting, fast and easy. And that's basically what Gobo Tool is for. So basically all the noises have, or all the light layers have a UV mod section, the settings for that type of noise it's using. So in this case, the Voronoi noise settings. Gabor will have the Gabor noise settings, as you can see. So scale, frequency. It has less options because the Gabor noise has less options. But yeah, all these connections have been made for you. And you can UV mod them as well. And all of them have a location, rotation, scale setting as well. So let's go back to Gabor, radius to 0, so that the light is sharp. So now we're in Gabor. And location, rotation, scale. allows you to animate the location or the rotation, for example. So right now the seed of the noise is changing slowly, or the time factor, but we can rotate everything as well. So when we turn on the rotation multiplier to 0.1, for example, it starts to rotate with the timeline. Pretty cool. And it does it around the axis that you fill in here. So right now it's on the z-axis, but you can pick other ones as well, which will create radically different effects, because the light always is of course projected from this lamp right here. So this might not be the effect you're looking for, but hey, it's there. Personally, I like to keep it at the z-axis, so it rotates around its own axis. You can speed it up, of course, or do it real slowly if you lower the number. You can change the scale here as well, so have that, so you can squish the x-axis, for example, or maybe the y, or you can squish the z-axis, which creates some nice circular patterns in this case. So yeah, lots of options here. Shift location, which basically changes the location of the noise. So you could see this as a seed change the seed of the noise. And we also have a location multiplier, so it can move over time in a certain direction. Just fill in the rotation angle and then have the location multiplier multiply the location, so it will move towards a location you have filled in here. Oops, put it to 90. So yeah, you can create some really interesting effects this way. And this location rotation scale setting is also under all noises. So when we go to wave, for example, which is the wave texture, let's close this, go to wave, we also have a location rotation scale and a settings section for the wave noise in this case. So we can add some distortion in there or remove it completely. So you get these stripes, do that as well. UV multiplier is here again. So when you set it to 3, for example, you create some extra dynamics, maybe even more so, scale a bit higher. So yeah, really interesting patterns here. And if you want to add a normal light in there to fill up the blacks, you can slide up the main, which is a normal light source basically. So you can fill that up if you want. Maybe blur it a bit. Cool. So yeah, UV mod, settings, location, rotation scale, they all come back under basically all light layers. And what we can also find, let's turn the radius to 0 again, make the light sharp. What you can also find is the clamp section, which allows you to invert all noises. So all the white becomes black and all the black becomes white in this case. You can easily invert it, pretty nice. A min-max, which allows you to clamp the black and white values more, but they generate these extra lines, as you can see. So it basically makes the lines thinner, but it'll create more of them, which is, and I thought this was a pretty nice effect. Now, if you don't like it, just leave it to default, 0 on the minus and 10 on the max. That's the default. And you can always increase the contrast or decrease it to basically keep the same amount of lines, but make them more or less obvious. And you can also tweak the brightness, which leaves the contrast alone. It just changes the brightness of the light, or the noise texture in this case, sorry. And you can blur it as well, introduce some blur in there, and basically smooths out the lines a bit in here. You can go past 1, so if you fill in 50, it basically erases the entire pattern, maybe 5. Yeah, so 5, 0, 5. See, it kind of smooths everything out, but it makes it a bit brighter. So in that case, we might want to lower the brightness again, maybe set it to 10. I don't know. So yeah, a lot of control here, as you can see. And the clamp section is also under all these light layers. So when we go to rings, for example, and slide up rings, which is a different ring pattern, also pretty cool, maybe a bit less. This also has UV mod, settings, location, rotation scale, and clamp. So we get the same thing. So invert it, you invert the values, brightness, contrast, which makes the edges of the pattern harsher as well. So yeah, a lot of control here, and it uses the same settings under each noise. It's pretty easy to get a grasp on. The only thing that differs every time is, of course, the settings, because these settings correspond to the type of noise it's using. So we have scale, increase the scale, distortion, or maybe no distortion, so you get perfect circles. Also pretty cool. Phase multiplier set to 1. When you set it to 0, nothing moves. You can manually animate the phase here as well by sliding the phase slider over here. So yeah, pretty flexible. We can add some warping to this as well. This really demonstrates well what it does. So it kind of messes up the perfect circles we had. Increase the scale maybe, slow it down because it's too fast for my liking. Maybe a bit faster, 0.005. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's basically the gist of it. So you have different types of light layers that you can mix and match. You can put them together. Don't think that you need to use one only. And you can get some really interesting combinations. Blur it a bit. Let's put the light here. Maybe unblur. So yeah, pretty cool. Okay, so you also have a magic texture, which is the magic noise, which is in Blender shaders. Doesn't do a lot, actually. It only has these settings, scale and distortion. That's just the way the texture works. Can't help you with that, sorry. But still, it's there. You can create some unique patterns with this in combination with the other ones as well. Now, Kaleido is definitely special because it generates a kaleidoscope pattern in perfect symmetrical shapes, and it moves as well. So that's pretty cool. You can blur this one as well by upping the radius again, maybe at an angle. Really interesting and really easy to set up. You only have to pick your favorite settings in the sliders on the right here. So let's close magic. Let's go to Kaleido. Also have some options here. We can disable a type of mirroring, which let's turn off the radius. So the mirroring basically doubles the mirroring. So right now you can clearly see 4 parts in this kaleidoscope, 4 angles, 4 corners maybe. And when you up the mirror, you basically double that. So it becomes 8. So now you see 8 parts in this kaleidoscope. Pretty cool. And it should always create unique and new kaleidoscope effects because it's based on 2 noises that are combined and being mirrored with each other. You can also rotate these mirrors, create some additional weirdness and asymmetrical shapes that way. Pretty cool. Yeah, you can really get creative with this one. And like I said, it's 2 types of noises, like the normal noise and the Voronoi, and these are being projected as a kaleidoscope, so they're mirrored around. But you can change the noise settings to create some other shapes. So maybe increase the scale or remove some detail. You know, it's all up to you. And what your taste tells you to do. So that's Kaleido. Again, it also has rotation, a location rotation scale. It also has a clamping setting, so you can invert colors, maybe make it less bright. Lots of stuff to do here. And that kind of works like the rest of the layers. We also have grid, which creates this nice grid. You can get some really cool technical and futuristic lighting setups with this one. Also has a settings section. You can really make it your own. Change the shape even. So you can get some wacky combinations with this, and should work well in more sci-fi lighting setups, or maybe a sick nightclub scene or something. You can really go wild with this grid section. Pretty cool. And finally, we have image texture. So you can always load your own images, of course. So if you have a nice folder of Gobos, just load in your own image in the light layer, and you can use your JPEGs or PNGs or whatever, maybe even a video, and just load it into the image texture here. Now, in order to do that, you need to go to the image texture loader light, because this is a light layer. There's also an image texture under masks, which is this one, image texture loader mask. But since it's under light, we're going to the light texture loader. So click it once, and like it says here, click once to select and press tab key to edit and exit nodes. So click once, press tab, that's it. And you can load in your own image here. So that's image texture. That's basically all the light layers which add light to your scene. Let's slide up the main light for now. And then we get to light masks, which subtract light from the light. So when you slide main all up to 1, you can then add light masks to subtract from that light. So we have this divide slider, for example. Let's zero the X and Y out and maybe move that Suzanne a bit. Divide divides the light up into 4 sections, kind of like a pie. And you can increase the amount, of course. So maybe you want more, maybe you want less. It's all up to you. When you change the brightness, the pie starts growing or shrinking. Pretty cool. This works for multiple divisions, of course. So you can get some really interesting lights that way. And for these light masks, we also have a UV mod section. So right now nothing happens when I press play, but when I turn on the UV multiplier, it starts to multiply or warp. Sorry, it starts to warp the UVs and create new shapes. And then when you combine it with a blurrier image, you can create some really wacky lights that way. And yeah, really make it your own. Create some interesting combinations, or keep it simple if that's what you like. You can turn on the rotation multiplier for this one as well. So 0.1, start rotating, turn the radius down again so it's sharp. So yeah, lots of options in Gobo Tool. So that's divide. We have softbox as well, which creates a softbox shape. You can also make it an octagon shape. So yeah, it starts to look a bit more like a softbox. Maybe soften the light as well. Soften these edges. Pretty cool. We also have a mesh, which creates this pattern, and when you soften that, it looks a bit more like it's been like there is a mesh in front of your light source. Create some interesting patterns, as you can see. Pretty cool. So that's what mesh does. And as you can see, I am combining multiple masks here, and the way these are combined can be changed in 1.3 as well. So when we go to the mixers, we have a light layer mixer and a mask mixer. So in this case, we're already using masks. So again, press once, press tab in the mask mixer, and it has 2 modes, multiply mode or linear light mode. And when we switch to linear light, so this was multiply, this is linear light, and basically you can ignore this one. So linear light, yeah, it basically creates a new way of mixing the types of light we have. So you can turn on divide, for example, and then when you add mesh to it, you can see it influence the shape of the divide as well. They seem to be blending into each other in this linear light mode. And when we set it back to multiply, you get a radically different way of mixing, as you can see. So right now they're basically being erased by the divide. Here you have these squares of the mesh, they're being erased by the divide section. And when we put it back to linear light, they seem to combine a bit more and create a new mask based on both layers. So yeah, quite a different style of creating lights, as you can see, or masks in this case. Yeah, you can get some really interesting combinations that way. So in the mask mixer, tab once, click once, press tab, and set it to linear light for a different style of mixing these masks together. I think I like this more, actually, but I know some people might want to have the default multiply version. But for me personally, it creates way more interaction between all these layers. You can see the mesh layers move as well when it comes into contact with the rotating divide. So yeah, pretty interesting effect, if you ask me. And then when you blur the radius of the light, yeah, you can get really creative and interesting lighting setups that way. Maybe turn down the main a bit. Yeah, really wonderful and weird if that's what you're going for. I mean, you can also do normal lights with Gobo Tool as well, of course. So just slide up the main a bit. That's possible too. You know, you don't have to stick to these weird noise patterns if you don't like them, or abstract and geometric patterns. So next up, we have flashlight. Creates a flashlight shape. Let's turn it back to the normal multiply in this case. So yeah, a flashlight pattern. We have dirt as well. So you can create some dirt, sort of like a dirty flashlight, which might have, I don't know, some specks on the front glass. It's also possible. We have a fan mask, which is also pretty cool. A circle, creates a circle in the middle, or a mask. And fan, of course, has an amount of blades. You can type in blade length is something that can be changed. Pretty cool. By default, the rotation multiplier is enabled for fan. We can turn it off, and it'll stop rotating, of course. clamp is back here. UV mod is there as well. So this one can also be radically changed. So yeah, lots of options. Circle creates a simple circle, and you can of course tweak that as well. So maybe turn down the brightness, turn up the contrast a bit, which allows you to change the size of the hole, and you can have a nice ring light that way. Pretty cool. Turn up the main school ring light. Nice. Maybe combine it with mesh. I don't know. Yeah, interesting combinations here. So that's circle, triangle. That's a new one. Creates a rotating triangle shape. Could be fun. Stripe, which creates this moving stripe. Also pretty cool, if you ask me. Yeah, pretty interesting to have in your setup. You can slow this down, of course. The stripe, if a rotation multiplier set to 0.5, maybe set it to 0.1. Yeah, pretty cool. You combine it with a grid. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. I like that a lot. We have Venetian blinds as well. So you can kind of looks like you're shining light through some blinds. And we have caustics as well, which was enabled by default. So some nice fake caustics. Makes it look like there's something at the bottom of the ocean here. Pretty cool. Image texture does the same, but it subtracts light. So the other image texture layer was a light layer, which generates light. This one subtracts light, but it basically does the same. So you can load in your own black and white images, and or even color images, but it'll make them black and white. And yeah, so if you have a nice collection of gobos yourself as image files, or maybe even a video, you can put it in there. Flicker, which creates random flickering, which can also be sped up, of course. So flicker speed multiplier, put it to 5, creates random flickering. Could be pretty handy. And if you don't slide it all the way up to 1, it creates some minor flickering, so it won't ever fully turn off. That'll only happen when you put the flicker to 1. And we also have a strobing section, which does the same, but in a rhythmic pattern. So it's not random. So strobe can also be sped up. You can also make it more quantized instead of a smoother transition. So yeah, that's basically how the masks work, which subtract light from the original source. And finally, we get to color effects, which has had some changes as well. So let me just turn up the main and use caustics for this demonstration. Color effects has some changes. You can now change the color in the menu on the right here. So the color info in this, the color nodes in this global settings menu have been deleted, but because you can do the entire color changes in this menu right here. So right now we have also a new color mixer. Slide it to the left. It'll use 100% of colorizer 1. So these colors. Slide it to the right. It'll use colorizer 2, and these process color in a different way. And when you set it to 0.5, it'll use both equally. But right now we've set it to the left, 0, so colorizer 1. What does colorizer 1 do? It changes color based on the distance. So that's what I was talking about in the beginning of this video. When you slide the light down, it'll change color. See? Because right now it's more reddish or orange. And when you slide it up, it'll become more yellowish, and finally green. And you can also tweak the distance, because when I put it like this, you can clearly see the gradient from red to green. And you can tweak the color A min and color B max. So basically clamp these colors closer together. So you can see it here become more red until it finally becomes reddish. And you can also slide down the other one to make it become more green. And you can fine tune the length of the gradient in this case. Pretty cool. And when you surpass the B number past the A number, you basically invert it. So you can basically get a reverse gradient, which goes from green to red instead of red to green. Pretty cool. And the default settings are 0 and 10, again, like under the clamp sections. So that's colorizer 1. Colorizer 2, let's slide it all the way up to the right. Colorizer 2 works different. Now, as you can see, this colorizer 1 was called color by distance. So based on the distance, like I just demonstrated, it'll get a gradient from red to green in this case, but feel free to change the colors, of course, to colors you like. You can do that easily. Colorizer 2, however, we've selected color as 2 right now, it recolors the grayscale. So in this case, the grayscale values get recolored. So we can also tweak that. Maybe pick a reddish hue for this. So dark red and light blue. And when you clamp these, you can see this effect become a bit more pronounced. Yeah, so here you can see the darker values stay red and the lighter values become blue in this case. So that's what I mean by recoloring the grayscale values. So everything that is white becomes light blue, everything that's dark or black becomes reddish. And again, feel free to pick your own colors. You can do it from the menu right here. Super easy, super fast, and yeah, you can get some really creative lighting combinations that way. So that's recoloring grayscale. And slide to left, that's based on distance. So again, select the light, and now the farther away means that the other end of the gradient is further away, and everything that's closer to the light source will become the other color. So color A is close to the light, color B is farther away from the light. And you can also combine these two. So when you put the mixer to 0.5, for example, you get those recolored gradient colors in there as well. Just remember that these colors get combined, so you can create new colors with this, of course. If you mix red and blue, for example, you get more greenish tints. So keep that in mind. But yeah, it's a nice way to create really wonderful color combinations and some unique lighting setups that I don't think other tools for Blender do. So yeah, that's basically the gist of it. And you can shift the hue. So this is like a master effect. Shift the entire hue of the entire light as well. Shift the saturation to 0, for example, so it's black and white, and the brightness also here. So yeah, I think that's the most important stuff. Finally, we have this blue menu right here, which I already showed a couple of times, but you can change the settings for your light layers, for example. So the light layers, like I said, consist of multiple noises. So if you want to change the type of noise, for example, in the Voronoi type, select Voronoi type once, press tab, and you can switch the global type of Voronoi noise in this one. So let's turn up Voronoi, for example, and turn off the caustics for now, and turn off warp to 0. So in this case, we're in the Voronoi type. So the Voronoi layer, light layer, will now be changed if we switch it here. So Manhattan or Minkowski, for example, maybe. See, so you get some really interesting different effects that way. Euclidean, it's too bright, maybe a bit less. So yeah, that's how you change the type of noise. And you can do that for all these nodes in here. So you can change the Kaleido type, the magic type, noise type. So yeah, these are the global settings. But like I said, 99% of the time you're working in this menu on the right here. You won't often even have to look at this blue section here. So you can basically forget about it. Because yeah, Gobo Tool is thankfully almost fully controlled from this very handy object data menu on the right here. So you can easily step up your lighting game in Blender with very easy and simple to understand settings. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this new breakdown of Gobo Tool version 1.3. Always check which version is being handled in the video, because new updates mean new functions, and if you're watching an older video of my products, you're probably going to be confused. So if you're using version 1.3, you're supposed to be watching this video, of course. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Please let me know if you found anything confusing or have any questions about Gobo Tool. Version 1.3 is available now on Superhive Market, so head on over there to get it for Blender, so you can start creating your own really unique lighting setups in seconds. Give it a nice couple of colors as well. It's great for more organic lighting, but it also has some nice geometric patterns. So yeah, it's a nice combination of organic and geometric shapes, and can really improve the lighting in your 3D scene. So this was Rick from Studio Spades. Get Gobo Tool now. Tell me what you think of it, and I hope to see you in the next video. So this was Rick. Hope you have a nice day. Take care and see you.